What about who show up on your thoughtful I lose myself in books because 7 reality is a mess? Vintage retro shirt free days religiously are the ones blogging about your new artifacts. Could you create a membership that speaks specifically to them? This week, an interview with Brooklyn Museum 1 Street Fans managers Will Carey, membership, and Shelley Bernstein, technology, and artist, and Shao, 1 Street Fans is a new kind of membership, launched in January 3, 2009, that combines in-person meetups, private groups on Facebook and Flickr, and a private Twitter feed featuring work by original artists. For more background, check out Will and Shelley's blog posts and videos. It has gotten a lot of attention as a social media membership, but Will and Shelley are adamant that 1 Street Fans is not about social media. Video conferencing has also significantly contributed to the field of healthcare. Through the thoughtful I lose myself in books because 7 reality is a mess vintage retro shirt use of video conferencing technologies, it is now possible for doctors to communicate and discuss cases with each other. Business, however, is the area that has been radically impacted by video conferencing technologies. With the globalization of businesses and their top brass spread all over the world, it has become more and more difficult to synchronize the workflow in companies. Thanks to video conferencing, however, now these businesses are able to function in a smooth manner, and especially their sales departments, whose personnel are always on the go as they are now able to telecommute to work. Video conferencing has made the process of communications both economical and effective for people and businesses around the world. In response to this crisis, thoughtful I lose myself in books because 7 reality is a mess vintage retro shirt, ladies tee, long-sleeved, sweater and hoodie, sweater, hoodie, ladies tee, long-sleeved. The rules changes granted exemptions on a thoughtful I lose myself in books because 7 reality is a mess vintage retro shirt case by case basis to the bar in U.S. Federal Register signed by Secretary of State John Kerry and Jay Johnson, the Secretary of Homeland Security. Just how many Syrians might eventually end up in the U.S.? The U.S. hasn't yet set an upper limit on the number of Syrian refugees the country will admit, but the government is reportedly currently reviewing between 9,000 and 10,000 resettlement applications from Syrians. And the U.S. Even so, applicants have to be screened by counter-terrorism agencies, the Pentagon and the Department of Homeland Security, in a process that is more selective than what is used for anyone else who wants to enter the thoughtful I lose myself in books because 7 reality is a mess vintage retro shirt. United States. Ann C. Richard, Assistant Secretary of State for Population, Refugees, and Migration. Christians, who form about 10% of the Syrian population, are essentially middlemen in this civil war, caught between Assad's army and the Sunni rebels. Under Assad, Christians had more rights than in many Middle Eastern countries. With the freedom to worship and run schools and churches, their rights were limited. However, the Syrian constitution says the president must be Muslim. For example, they were also offering distributors exclusive rights to sell the game in their territories. It seemed to work, at least at first, as the company landed 3 games on the thoughtful I lose myself in books because 7 reality is a mess vintage retro shirt replays software charts. 36 game of 1982. The last was Heart Attack, aka Amazing, a maze game in which the goal was to fill the floor with dots rather than eat them. 1 in Europe. The game was a multi-screen jumping game that cast the other products